People have been talking about avoiding wars for a long time, but unfortunately they keep repeating themselves. But whichever way, I would say we are fighting much less than the way we were fighting in the previous centuries. At least it's localized, it's not spreading everywhere. I'm not saying it's okay. Whether people die in Ukraine or people die in Gaza or where, Israel or wherever, it is not okay. Essentially, I don't take sides in wars because I'm against war. How do I take sides? Who is right, who is wrong? War is wrong. Who is right, who is wrong doesn't arise in my mind, because everybody thinks they are right. That's the whole problem. So, war is wrong, this must get across. Unfortunately, it hasn't. We have invested too much in the war machine, so we have to use them, we have to exercise our armies. All these aspects are there. Geopolitics is not simply fighting and not fighting kind of business, there are many, many aspects to it. At least the religious aspect, if we cool it off, reasonable amount of wars could be avoided. Economic aspects, political aspects will still continue, but at least the religious thing, heat, if we cool down, you worship whatever you believe, somebody worships whatever they believe, everybody has a right to exist. If this much if we come to terms with, I feel a whole lot of temperature would go down. But other fights will be there in the world. One train could carry all of them. We could… I'm not saying this is a solution, we could think of anything, but as far as possible, cutting more and more into the temple should be limited. We can't do without infrastructure, but at the same time, we don't want Himalayas to collapse in a big way. It's not that the entire mountain will collapse, but sides of the mountain have already collapsed. That is also a natural part, not necessarily because of infrastructure. Many times sides of the mountain comes down. This is the way it stabilizes itself because it's a growing mountain. But limited amount of meddling is best for Himalayas. This is my experience of life. We shouldn't call them resources. They are life-making material. We are all made of that.
So, Save Soil has already begun. So, what's the way forward for water and air?
We already ran the Rally for Rivers and we changed some of the river management policies, but the problem is these are concurrent issues. The central government… the river policy that we made, a 736-page book that was put through Niti Aayog, and after all the experts saw it, they recommended this as a policy recommendation for all the 28 states. But as I said, states are in elections, states are in this, states are in that. A few states are little proactive and doing some things. Other states are… it's in the back burner, it's not the prime thing. Because to make investments long-term, people should give a mandate. It's very important. Because a government's life is 5 years. When it's 5 years, they try to do things which produce result in 5 years. Nobody want to invest in something which will take 15 to 20 years. For this, people should give a strong mandate. Our rivers, our soil, our air is our concern. Whoever fixes these things, we will vote for them. This voice should come from the people. That is why we caused these people movements. For Rally for Rivers, in 29 days, I gathered 162 million people supporting it. For Save Soil, in 100 days, 3.91 billion people across the planet were touched by this. These people's movements are because unless it is important in the people's minds, it will never become important in the government's minds because these are democratic nations. That's the only way it will happen.
Ours, the country is always in elections, sometimes some local body elections, some assembly elections, and every year we go to some states going into elections.
Oh, every month almost.
Yeah. So how do you see a way out of it? Because
I was, I think almost 16 or 17 years ago, I was the first one to suggest probably, maybe not the first one, I was one of them, to suggest that one election, one nation, one election is a very important thing. But political parties feel that if they're out in the cold, suppose you lose the election, you're out in the cold for next 5 years without any activity, it may be hard for them. So I suggested parliamentary elections happen once in 5 years and that's it. And assembly elections happen every, in between 2.5 years' time, and that is also for 5 years. So every 2.5 years there'll be an election. Along with the assembly election, you do everything else. Corporation elections, panchayat elections, whatever elected bodies are there, everything goes with assembly. Parliamentary election stands apart. Now the problem is, in case there is death, in case there is something, we must find a solution for that, that if nobody is going to die immediately after the election, let's say after 1 or 2 years if somebody passes away and there is a vacancy, I think it can wait till the assembly election comes and those by-elections can happen at that time. But election happens only twice in 5 years. That is one parliamentary election and was… I think we must move that way. We are wasting too much of time and energy, media space, and even for the political leaders, it's non-stop campaigning mode. Country won't develop like this if we are going on being in the election mode, because election, when it comes, everything, all of us know. Anybody who runs an institution or a business knows, election time means 3 months ahead of time and 2 months afterwards has hangover. Everything stops, nothing happens, no permissions happen, no licensing happens, nothing happens, government activity. Because everybody is in that, all the officials are drawn into it, police are drawn into it, all kinds of things. It's a massive operation, it's not a simple operation.
So one last question.
Stay with the Times of India for news breaks, analysis, interviews and events. We bring you stories from your neighborhood and from across the globe as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the like button and press the bell icon so you don't miss any of our videos.